Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. On this week's episode, I talked to you about how I almost burned down my house. Um, well, I didn't do it, but an appliance almost did. Um, and then I talk about, well, I saw a lot of things going on out there and people thinking weird. And thought it'd be a good idea to remind you not to put your faith in man, because man is falters and man is damaged. Um, put it in a woman. No. Uh, and the U.S. government was selling some Bitcoin. I think that's interesting. Also, think it's interesting that they didn't do anything to the price. And then El Salvador. Just have some thoughts on what is up with El Salvador and my desire to go see it. Um, and make the pilgrimage. But before we get into that, I want to shout out to the Bitbox O2 hardware wallet from Shift Crypto. Go to shiftcrypto.ch/Bitcoin made simple and use the promo code Bitcoin made simple to get 5% off. And you should get your coins off the exchange. If we've learned anything here, it would be to get your coins off the exchange ASAP as possible. So I would recommend you do that. And then obviously the Bitbox is easy, simple to use, and the security it's open source, so people have really poked through and made sure it looks good. So take the nerd's word for it, not mine. But I can do it and use it. It's pretty simple. Then also Upstream Data. Go to upstreamdata.ca/Bitcoin made. No, no, we don't have an affiliate link there. Just go there, check out all their stuff if you want to get into the mining industry and learn about, where if you want to find a way to quiet your miner at home, if you want to buy a miner, Upstream Data's got it taken care of for you. And last but not least, Movies Plus. Please, please, please go check out Movies Plus. And I cannot tell you, I cannot hype it up enough. You guys got to watch The Dividers. It's it is a slick movie. It is so well done. It's very entertaining, funny, all of the above. So I recommend you go check it out, and you use my promo code Cory Cory. You get an entire year for $25. So that's 250 a month. Not too shabby. Oh no, not 250 a month. Am I an idiot? 12 times 250. No, it's even less than that. It's like $2 a month. I don't know, something like that. Don't take my word for it again, because I'm not the nerd. I'm not the smart one. I'm the smooth brain one. But yeah, I see you guys using those codes, so make sure you grab one before they fly off the shelves and no longer exist. Yeah. So first things first, I've had a lot of interesting house things. Um, First of all, 2 weeks ago, before I went to, I went down to exercise in our exercise room, and there was water in the exercise room. Uh, and so I had the lovely backup of the septic system. I think the culprit was one of my children throwing a massive wad of Kleenexes down the drain because they have had runny noses. Sometimes, if we're out of toilet paper, they use the Kleenexes, and yeah, I had to put a kibosh on any Kleenexes going in the toilet. I said nobody puts Kleenexes in the toilet anymore, because that was a ton of fun to clean up. Let me tell you. Um, but then the more interesting thing was this past week. So to give you the background on this story, I I mean, you guys, most of you probably know that I'm Catholic. So I, for Lent, it's a tradition you give up something. It's a way of sacrificing something in order to, you know, give, prayer and grace and glory to God, all that kind of stuff. Well, this year I decided to give up eating between dinner and breakfast. Um, I don't eat like a pig, but it's really, I mean, the the most wasteful, pointless eating ever takes place between dinner and breakfast. Um, so I decided to cut that out. And but on Sundays, it's a free day. For those of you that didn't know, if you give something up during Lent, I don't know why it's considered a free day, other than the fact that my grandfather called it a free day, so we've just gone with it ever since. And I mean, when you're a kid and you give up like ice cream or something like that, and you hear there's a potential of a free day from your grandfather, you're like, well, I mean, that's he obviously is older than me and knows what he's talking about, so I'm going to go with what he said. Um, so, anyways, Sunday was free day, and I was hoping that there would be ice cream left, but my children who gave up ice cream had consumed the rest of it during the day. Had the kids down in bed. Me and my wife were going to watch a show. I was like, all right, I'm going to go get some ice cream. There was none. But at that point, I was like, I need something sweet. That was like all that was on my mind. So I found chocolate and marshmallows. I was like, ah, sweet. I'm going to microwave some s'mores. And so I put the graham crackers and the marshmallows in the microwave. And I mean, I'm sure most of you do the same thing. It's like I put stuff in the microwave, and our microwave is like below the island. So it's out of sight, which makes this even more problematic, I guess. Um, but you put something in the microwave, you close the door, hit the button, and then go do other things while it's microwaving. Um, but because of it being a s'more, you sit there and like look at it for, you know, the time that it's in the microwave. And because it's only going to be like a couple seconds before the marshmallow starts to balloon up. If you've ever never done it, it's really funny to watch. You just start it. I mean, you have to don't let it run long because the marshmallow will balloon up and then explode. Um, but balloons up pretty quickly. So I just hit the button and I'm sitting there watching it. And as soon as it starts, it makes this weird popping sound. And then boom, a flame is shooting out of I guess it's called the mica plate on the side of the inside of the microwave, like shooting out towards the center of like the turntable as if like a flamethrower is coming out. And I was like, just like turned it off immediately. Flame goes away. I'm like, oh, thank God. Oh, thank God. And I just sat there for like a minute. I'm like, did I just see what I just saw? So then, first things first, I had to use the air fryer to make my s'mores. um, but yeah, that good thing it was a s'more that I was making, and I sat there and watched it, and that's the time that it caught on fire because um, God knows what would happen if it was another time. Um, so yeah, the other is sort of Bitcoinish thing. Um, Not really. I mean, I guess I just see a lot of Bitcoin Twitter talking about current events. Um, but we all see, the indictment that has been handed down, and people are freaking out and flipping out in multiple different ways. Um, and I would recommend that you just don't, because his problem, not yours. Um, yes, you could say, what about the state of affairs of our current system? It's like, well, I mean, if you're into Bitcoin, you probably understand the state of the affairs of the current system. So you probably like get it already. So that shouldn't be a shocker. Um, but I don't know. It's just you need to. I keep seeing people say, this is the weird thing. You need to put your faith in. I mean, I'm not saying you have to be Catholic because I am. That's why I am. If you want to believe what you want to believe, great. If you want to talk to me about what I believe in and why I believe in it, and maybe hear me out to see if that's where you want to go. Sure, I'll talk to you, but I'm not the super evangelical type. I don't know why. Whether that's a good or bad thing about me, I don't know. But yeah, I'm not the evangelical type. But anyways, you should put your faith in whatever it is that you want to put your faith in. But I would do it in anything other than man. And I say man as a species, because we are flawed and we will break and we will do bad things and we will corrupt, kind of like fiat. Um, but yeah, here's the weirdest thing to me though, is that like 2016, I felt like the general consensus across conservative, across conservative, not necessarily religious, but well, yeah, I guess not necessarily conservative, I guess, but religious, Christians mainly. I'm sure there were other religions that were this way too, but just from what I remember, people that I knew, in life and talked to and saw talking about it, it was like this reluctant support of Donald Trump. It was like, you know, people said like, "Oh, who you gonna vote for?" And they were like, "Well, I'm gonna go in and vote for Trump and then come out and throw up in the garbage can," like because it's so disgusting. I can't believe I'm voting for this guy, like unbelievable. Whether or not you want to look through it with, I mean, maybe you were a MAGA Trumper like right off the bat and you were all for it. I don't know. And I don't care, honestly, whatever, vote for who you want to vote for. Um, but if you take the revisionist history out of it and look at it, a vast majority of people were like, ugh, like, who's the lesser of two evils? I'll vote for him, but it makes me sick, thinking about it, blah, blah, blah. Well, fast forward to now, and I am just seeing this plethora of imagery across social media of like Jesus behind Donald Trump while he's sitting at the desk in the Oval Office with Jesus's hands on his shoulders and all this kind of stuff. And I think one of his kids was on one of the news shows recently talking about how he was, that she, it's like almost like chosen by God or something. I don't know. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? Because a lot of, I mean, you have a lot of the same people that were like, in 2016, like, I'm going to vote for him, but I'm going to throw up, are now like, I believe God is acting through him. And I'm like, are you guys all missing the plot? Like, you're all missing what's going on here. Um, so speaking of higher power stuff, whether or not you are of the same faith as me, I believe that there is a higher power. So if at the bare minimum you are agnostic and believe in a higher power, this world is not the world where where the higher power is supposed to be the ruler. This world is full of pain. This world is full of sorrow. This world is full of lots of things in humans doing terrible things to each other, stealing from each other. Hello, knock, knock, Bitcoin, and trying to solve that problem at least. And a lot of people say Bitcoin fixes this. And that's where I'd honestly say there's an argument that Bitcoin is divine because it makes it really, really expensive to be a not good person. Um, so, anyways, where was I going with that? Um, so yeah, it's just, people were getting so wrapped up in like the current affairs of the world. And I'm like, yeah, you have to pay attention to that, but like just just be happy and focus on yourself. Make your world a happy place. Make everything that you're dealing with a happy place. Um, and control what you can control. Identify what you can't control and then control what you can. Um, if you hate your job, that's something you can control. If your job is making you miserable, then you can change that. If Donald Trump getting arrested is making you miserable, you can't change that. If, you know, Joe Biden losing the next election is going to make you miserable, nothing really you can do about that. I hate to break it to you. I mean, I know, you can vote, but I'm just saying it is what it's going to be. And there's nothing you can do about it. So you just got to move on and find ways. I mean, I used to get so wrapped up in elections like big time. And I learned a long time ago that if I would just have been a lot happier if through all those times I just focused on myself and just didn't care, and ignored the noise. And Bitcoin's pretty good at that, but people do get wrapped up in the current, what's a who's it of the world, and people get all, upset about. I I guess there is probably more of a little bit more of a red lean in Bitcoin, but I would think that that's more of like a libertarian. I guess it's more of a red lean, but I guess that just comes from the fact that the red, the right tends to be more fiscally responsible. So I'm guessing that's why. Um, but yeah, just don't let that stuff, don't let that stuff get you, because this is the dominion of man. That's what Earth is. And if you want to rule over Earth, more power to you, because you do not control it all. There's more there's more to this than what we have right here, I believe. And it's a fool's errand to sit there and try and capitalize on it. I do think it's a dangerous trick. People got to be careful with, you know, becoming people are so worried about dying on Earth, and it's like, man, you must not have any faith. So, uh, just uh, just wanted to put that out there. All right, now focusing on some Bitcoin stuff. And before I do that, make sure you get a Bitbox O2 hardware wallet from Shift Crypto. Um, the U.S. government should have bought a Bitbox O2 hardware wallet from Shift Crypto, because then they could have kept their Bitcoin on it. I didn't look too far into this, other than so I just assume this is some of the stuff that they had confiscated over the years. Um, but I guess a couple of weeks ago they sold like 9,000 Bitcoin, or like a quarter of the Bitcoin that they had or whatever. Um, and and the funny thing is the price didn't like get crushed. If anything, the price has like ripped up, now we're at like 28,500 or whatever we've been at the last couple of weeks. But um, yeah, and the weird thing is they forecasted that they're going to be selling the rest over the remainder of the year, I guess. Um, so take that for what you will. Just maybe you can get some cheap sats. They don't want them, so I guess you should want them. Yeah, you should try and buy them up. Maybe you have been buying them up. Um, by the way, speaking of like buying up the actual specific coins, maybe somebody can point me in the direction of something that would be like a good resource for what exactly the the Bitcoin is. So I know now that, I mean, I've known this, but like I've had a good refresher with having Douglas from Shift Crypto on here. Uh, that essentially your wallet, the coins are not on your wallet. They're the blockchain is basically a big safety deposit box room with a bunch of addresses for all these different boxes, and your signing device, which would be your Bitbox O2 hardware wallet, that has the public address. So you're like, oh, my coins are in box 405. And everyone else can see that your coins are in box 405. Nobody can see really what's in there. I think they think there's a way they can see if they know ahead of time when they're going in or something like that, but nobody knows how to get in. That's what your seed phrase is. That's what your secret is. Um, so that is how you access them. You have the key. Everybody can see the box 405, but nobody can open it except for you. And so, but I still don't really know how to explain to people, and I've had this come up as like the most recent rebuttal is, what, like, how is part of a coin? Um, you know, for example, I know, like, looking through transaction data, it's like whenever I bought coins, it was like, you know, a portion from this one and this one and this one, all these different ones made up, the coinage that you bought. And I think that's how it is for most of them. Um, so yeah, I'm curious. I've heard the term UTXOs, but I'm not smart enough to talk about them. Just smart enough to say the term. So I don't know if that's what those are. I'd be really interested if there's somebody out there. If one of you is really good at explaining that, hit me up, explain it to me, and then maybe come on the show and explain it to me so that you can explain it to the rest of the listeners, so that we can all be just as smart at the dinner parties. Um, yeah. So, anyways, also, I think that was all I wanted to say on that part. El Salvador. I have wanted to make the trip. Um, I'm trying to see if they have a film office or a film commission down there because be interesting to film some content down there. Maybe film a production, and I'd love to see because it seems like it's getting cleaned up. I'd love to see what could happen, um, if you unleash people's creativity down there. Uh, if they don't have to deal with the drug cartels and all that kind of stuff and all the violence, and they're more free to start engaging their mind. I think that really is going to open things up for El Salvador. So I'm bullish on it, but I also, like, the reason I'm bringing it up is I realize I don't know anything about El Salvador. Like, I know nothing. I know that El Salvador exists. I know that they accept Bitcoin as legal tender. I know that Luke Mikic, love you, Luke, has a hard on for El Salvador, and so do many other in the Bitcoin space. I know that Nayib Bukele is the president, um, and I know there's Bitcoin Beach, and I know they recently have cleaned up a lot of the crime, but I don't know anything else about it. So I feel like I need to make the pilgrimage at some point. Um, but as being an entrepreneur, I'm always like, well, if I'm making the pilgrimage, then I should probably make it a business pilgrimage because I've thought about this since the beginning. If you listened way back a couple of years ago, whenever I interviewed Mike from Bitcoin Beach, um, like, we talked about how cool it would be to set up like a little studio there. Um, so it's something that I'm still interested in, and would love to do and love to be a part of. I just don't know. I don't know if the viability. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. So I guess I got to talk to people down there. I guess I have to talk to the government down there because I'm sure if you're looking to set up something, a portion of your business down there and create a studio where people are going to create content, and I'm sure you have to go down the government route and um and figure out what all is involved there. Um, but yeah, it would be, to me, I think, a fun trip. I mean, it's the weather's starting to get nicer here, so I guess I have less of a urge to, like, up and leave. Um, it's funny, whenever we talk about vacations, if you've ever listened to Jim Gaffigan, um, and he, like, jokes about how he's like, isn't it funny that, like, we go on vacation in the summer, we, like, sit there all winter, we're like, oh man, this weather sucks, but now that it's nice, let's go somewhere else. Um, and So I always find that funny. And I used to, before like school and other before life got more involved in, like, the local community. Um, you know, it's that window whenever you're a new parent, you have this brief window where you're like, oh, like, your kids aren't in school, so you're not into that reality yet. They're not in the sports yet. So it's like you're like a free agent. You can go whenever, wherever, whenever, and um and that's pretty sweet. Like we would always go on vacations in the wintertime because we're like, well, the weather sucks here. Let's go down to Myrtle Beach or something like that. Um, so, but anyways, I would like to check it out. So hit me up if you know about, you know, like have some insight into El Salvador, if you've traveled there, what it's like, the do's and don'ts, the places to go, the people to see, and if you have any connection to, I guess, people in the government there that would handle, business affairs, um, it would be interesting. I'd like to find a way, not that I don't want my kids to come, but um, it would be fun to go with just me and my wife, maybe, um, because first of all, she's my girlfriend, so I want to take her somewhere. Second of all, uh, she's my business partner, so that's also a benefit. I mean, that is a cool thing. Cool thing about being a business partner with your spouse, especially when it involves international business, is that we've gotten to see the world together. So it's nice. You just like go to the Cannes Film Festival, and uh, while we're at the Cannes Film Festival, we happen to extend it by 4 or 5 days, and you know, then take like a little personal vacation on the tail end. Um, but yeah, it's just fun. It's you get business done, but you got to enjoy where you're going. I think I've said before, I was in Berlin one time for like the shortest period of time. I'd love to go back there with her and really, really, you know, get into the nitty gritty in Berlin because it's a pretty cool place. And I don't know if I ever told this, but whenever I was flying there, it was in the dead of winter, changing planes in Iceland, which as I showed my son, because he wanted to know where daddy was going, I said, I told him basically, I was like, I'm going to the North Pole because that's pretty much as close as you can get. Um, and he was like, wow, this is the time of year where Iceland is pitch black 24/7, snowing like crazy. Like the most terrifying takeoff and landings of my life were during the snowstorm. When I was coming back, there was no snowstorm. Um, but on the way there, it was terrifying. And so uh, we go to transfer planes, but we had to get on the tarmac. So dead of winter, up near the North Pole, and I have a hoodie on, but I also am wearing basketball shorts and Crocs with socks. Um, but yeah, that's how I walked across the blizzard covered tarmac in Iceland. And to be honest with you, because I'm a hockey player and I'm just so used to it and I'm hot all the time, uh, it didn't even phase me. I was like halfway through, like walking to the terminal, and I was like, oh my God, I'm like in shorts. Um, and yeah, so that was funny. And then I mean, it was the longest when we were taxiing to take off. They had one airstrip open and they had six snow plows at the one end of the airstrip, and they would go down and clean off the snow, and then a plane would go out and take off. By that time that plane was cleared, the snow had covered the ground again, so then they had to run the plows back and clear it off again, and then let a plane land. And they just kept doing that over and over. It was the longest wait the tarmac ever, and I lucked myself into sitting in the middle seat. It was the dumbest thing. And this is the last quick story, I promise. It was one of those things where me and my brother-in-law had we had the two I forget how dumb this was, but we had like the two, like there was this girl that had like the seat in between us, and she was like, "Oh, do you mind if I switch with one of you?" I guess she's between two people that know each other and are going to be talking or whatever. And I was like, "Oh yeah, sure." And I gave up my window seat, and I got up thinking that my brother-in-law I don't know why I thought this. I thought maybe he was just going to take the middle seat, and he was like, "I got to stay on the aisle because in case I go to the bathroom." And which is like, I mean, he was probably like, "I'm staying on the aisle because you're an idiot for giving up a non-middle seat." So I sat there. I think it was like an hour and a half on the tarmac, if not 2 hours, just sitting there with no elbow rest, eyes closed, staring straight ahead, miserable. So other than that, Iceland's a beautiful place. Um, yeah. So, anyways, that's all I got for now. If you guys, yeah, if anybody has anything on El Salvador, hit me up. Also, if you know how to explain the UTXOs and all that kind of stuff, then hit me up, and I would appreciate. You can just give me that info, so like DM me, and I'll regurgitate it. But if you do want to come on the show, you're more than welcome to. And hit me up. You can email the show Bitcoin Made Simple Podcast at gmail.com, and I will talk to you guys later. Oh, get a BitBox O2 hardware wallet from Shift Crypto. Don't leave your coins on the exchange. See you guys.